Hey y'all, story time. I have 3 yoga mats here. I've only purchased one of them, so I wanted to make a video and tell this story. I've been doing some written stories on my website that I'm working on, and I've been having fun making videos, so I'm just gonna roll with it because I had this idea. So yeah, I kind of get emotionally attached to objects. I get a little sentimental. So I've had one mat for a majority of my time that I've been practicing yoga on and off, and sometimes not so much practicing yoga, sometimes just laying on the mat that I unrolled to feel like I'm doing something. So I'm not trying to make it sound like I have this amazing developed yoga practice, but it's been a good part of my life the last few years. And a mat you're rolling around on, you're sweating on, you got your face on it, all types of fluids and stuff. So it holds a story. It's worth it. It's worth mentioning and acknowledging. So yeah, I have 3 mats, one of which I've used for a majority of my time doing yoga. So it's this one here. Let me see if you can see this okay. So it's super cushy. It smells okay. I cleaned it recently. It's got the little frog on it, and it's a great material. I've loved it ever since I got it. The way I came into it is I used to go to this yoga studio called the Funky Om. This was when I was first getting into college, and I made a couple friends, Maggie and Gracie, who I love dearly. I haven't seen them in a little bit. And they invited me to this thing called kirtan, which is like a devotional chanting, sort of like community music making night, where they encourage you to sing your heart out, even if you're bad at singing. And the point is that by sort of singing and putting yourself in a vulnerable state, you're getting closer to God or prayer. And so I wasn't even doing yoga there for a long time. And one day, and I met a ton of cool characters, Bubbles, who also went to school with me, and Jamie Love and Davy Joe, and just people that I really saw in this position of kind of being in leadership and also being really genuine, good people. And I said, wow, I really could look up to these people and admire them and want to be like that as I come into my 20s. And yeah, that's kind of what that period meant to me. And the owner of the place, the Funky Om, Millard, had a bunch of yoga mats that people would leave behind, and he was just giving them out like free hotcakes, and this was the one that he gave to me. And it just kind of had like a ketchup stain on it, and it smelled like ketchup, but I was like, hey, that's a nice mat, it's free, I'll take it. I don't know how much it was worth, the retail price originally, never really found that out, never looked into it. But I gave it a scrub. It smelled like ketchup for at least 2 years every time I got on it. It took a lot of sweat to cancel out the ketchup. But it's just been great. I had no reason to replace it or do anything else with it. And I had to clean it a couple times, scrub it out and kind of reset it. And I didn't actually start practicing yoga with it until maybe a year or 2 after I got it. Maybe a year. It just kind of sat there. We have a friend, Jesse Long, sent me something on Instagram for this guy, Chai Dev, for the Life Force Academy. It was like this online Kundalini yoga, very nicely filmed and like very exciting. And we were kind of into the drug culture, and it was just kind of like this, like, oh my God, you could get this ecstatic, tripped out feeling just by moving your body and doing this breath work. Cool. So it was like kind of a superficial way to get excited about it. I'm being a little critical of myself, but it was just fun and exciting. And I did this free webinar thing they did, and I just remember just feeling my body buzzing, and I was like, oh my God, yoga is so cool. Why did I not be doing this the whole time? So I ended up signing up, and I did that for a while online, was that Life Force Academy. And after a few months, I don't even know how long, maybe it was a year, but I was doing it somewhat consistently, but I had that very structured, like online kind of guidance. I ended up taking a break maybe, and never really getting into like a traditional like sun salutation vinyasana sort of yoga that people think of yoga as. until my friend Taki started teaching. And she was teaching very beginner classes, and I went, and still with the same mat, we started doing yoga together with a group of our friends. And she did very cool, like, choose your own adventure yoga classes, and she just had a very sweet style. And she got me up on my first headstand, so I was standing on my head for the first time with Taki. And at her class, one of her classes, after a couple months going to her classes, a very unassuming character came in, who, when I was walking in, you know, I think I'm hot shit with my little mat and like, oh, I'm going for a couple months, I know something, I know a thing or two. And this new guy's walking up, and he asked me if I know where the yoga class is, and I'm like, yeah, I got you, right this way, like, follow me, like, yeah, like, I know my way around these parts. And he came in, took the class, super humble in the back, came and left, said thank you, nothing too out of the ordinary. And yeah, it turns out that this character would be Yoga Paul, who he himself was a very developed yogi, probably had been practicing for like 10 years at that point, maybe more. And he was opening his own yoga studio, and he was just kind of coming around, taking some classes, just supporting the community and getting an idea of what's out there in the area. And he ended up inviting us to come to his yoga studio when it opened, which was just this beautiful space, looked almost like a church. And we started going there for something called Art Church. And after a couple of years, that's like a whole other story for another time. I'm not even going to go there because I'm already almost at 7 minutes. And if I go into Art Church, we're not getting out of here anytime soon. So we'll save that story for another time. But point being is that we started going to yoga at Beautiful. And Yoga Paul is just like a mad scientist. I have so much love for him, the way that he would practice yoga himself and push people to do crazy things with their body that they wouldn't believe possible. Really, that I would say that those 2 years that I've been going there have been like the truest development of an actual yoga practice, even though I could say I've done stuff on and off for 5 years. That period of 2 years of going there 4 or 5 times a week consistently was probably the deepest thing that I had to a yoga practice. And yeah, I loved it. It was just a very therapeutic thing, and I was on that mat every day. My friend Gina Waddle had the same mat, which was super cute because she's amazing. And yeah, so that mat deserves a good amount of time, deserves the love. I still love it, still probably going to use it all the time. And yeah, last year my mom, for my birthday, got me this mat, my second mat, which was very sweet. She knew I was going to yoga, and so she got me this mat that says my name on it, Kevin. Very sweet. She saw it somewhere online as an ad that you could customize a mat, and she got one for me and for my partner Jesse, and they both had our names on it in different colors. When this mat arrived, it smelled horrendous. It smelled like rotting rubber bodies, if that's a thing. And it was like just like a toxic gas bomb went off when we opened it up, and we tried to like air it out, all this stuff. I put it in my car, and every time I would go in my car, I would get a little lightheaded and kind of swerve off the road a little bit. And so I eventually got it clean by like scrubbing it and soaking it and like putting it in the bathtub and stomping on it like it was like I was trying to make wine or something. It doesn't smell bad now, but I eventually just decided like, okay, this is gonna be the mat that I use at the beach if, you know, I'm gonna go get sandy or dirty or something like that. But it's just super special because my mom made it for me, and you can't beat that. That's like worth 10 points at least for this mat. Not that I'm trying to rank them or anything like that. I just think it's cool that they each have a story. And it's also kind of foreshadowing that it was a custom printed yoga mat, because the next one I would get is a custom printed yoga mat. And this one I designed using one of my paintings. So I have videos where you can see this much better. But I've been on Printful. I'm wearing the shirt. You know, I've been making art for a few years as well, and people always said like, oh, you should put your stuff on a shirt. I would buy that if it was on a hoodie. You know, I was on social media posting stuff. I went to different vendor fairs and stuff like that, but I decided I wanted to do something off of social media where I could make sort of a space for myself to send people to go to for my art and have prints available. Me and my partner are planning on living on a school bus, so we couldn't hold inventory. So when I found out about print on demand, I thought, wow, that's really cool. I could be able to share art with my people, and they could get custom sizes and things and different types of artwork, and I wouldn't have to hold an inventory. I had a little bit too much fun with it because, as you can see, I'm using my own supply here. I'm purchasing samples left and right. Printful has a very smart business model of like, oh, you make whatever you want, and then you purchase it, and then you can sell it to people maybe if they buy it. But you got to buy the samples yourself, because every good business person orders samples, right? You're not going to sell something if you don't pay for the samples yourself. So yeah, anyways, I digress. I'm very excited about it. I haven't gotten to use it for too long. It's only been here for a couple days, but this is what kind of spurred the idea of like, oh, this is the first time I ever purchased a yoga mat. I almost flirted with buying one when I was at Beautiful. They had some very fancy like cork mats that were supposed to be very good grip and all that kind of stuff, but they were like $120, and I was like, ooh, mine was free. It just smelled like a little ketchup, but it was free. I'm not gonna pay $100-something for a mat. And yeah, so that's when I decided to just scrub up my old one and keep it. But yeah, so this was the first one I actually purchased for myself, and it has kind of like a soft feel to it. I think I would use it for a different purpose maybe than the other mat. The other mat I might use for more like a high intensity sort of workout where it's like getting a lot of sweat on it and such. This one, it's definitely nice. No shame to mom, I just like the texture better than the other printed one. And it didn't have that smell. It just kind of has a soft feel. But they all kind of have different purposes. Like I feel like the different materials you use for different things. So the first one I would probably use for more high intensity sweating, like exercise workout sort of deal. Like I said, the one from mom I would use for beach and outdoor, because it's just like a very nice simple material that, you know, you could kind of get dirty and not worry too much about it. This one has like a soft, like suede kind of feel to it, which is really nice. Like you wouldn't think that Printful would be using something that's like nice like this. It also kind of feels like a giant mouse pad, or like a very nice like soft like shower rug or something like that. So I could definitely see for like sun salutation, like yoga like flows, it's very nice. And then also like sort of more restorative and like meditations, like sitting on it to meditate and doing more like ground floor yoga. And yeah, like the sun salutations could be very cool because it almost has like this sort of a twister dot kind of thing going on. So it's a really good way to like measure your hand placement and your foot placement and sort of transition from downward dog to a forward lunge or triangle pose and such like that based on where you might position your feet on these dots. So that's what I'm excited for with that one. So yeah, I think that's kind of my story. The point, I guess, was that every mat has a story. I just want to acknowledge my little sentimentality for my mats. Even though I just purchased this new one, I want everybody to feel equally loved. And yeah, they'll all still get used. I'm not replacing any of them, and I'm not necessarily advocating for more one than another. But yeah, I have the website's launching soon. I'm gonna keep doing more stories. If you like this kind of thing, this longer format content is for YouTube. I've been making the shorts and the reels because they're really quick and fun. And then online on the website, I'm doing like a sort of blog post, but I'm calling them stories from the road. So it's kind of like this, but in a written format of just stories and lessons and memories and all of this sort of stuff. I'm just looking at my little sticky notes to see if I kind of got everything out there that I wanted to say. But yeah, I don't know. a little bit of animism. Love your objects. Remember them. They took care of you. You take care of them. All right. Peace out, y'all. Talk to you soon.